Hey everyone, what's up? I'm back to talk about, hopefully this thing doesn't fade out on me, to talk about or read off Dan Drazen's review of 231, which was published in February. Seeing as though we're in April now, or 232 I should say, not 231. I already did 231. My bad. But this is 232. And published in February, and seeing as though that kind of makes sense, you know, March, well, I guess it was February, I don't know, March 233, April 234, 235, I'm assuming. I'm not really sure. Maybe he has it off a little bit, but whatever. Okay. So here's 232. February. He talked about the Ben base cover. Straightforward portrait cover with Sonic and Knuckles in full, and headshots of Naugus, Eggman, Jeffrey, and Mecha Sally in the background. Alright, that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Let me try to zoom in a little bit more here because it kind of helps out. There we go. But, you know, that's pretty cool. Now, he mentions the title, which is Dark Titans. Story, Ian Flynn. Art, Ben Bates. Ink, Terry Austin. Color, Matt Hearns. Lettering, John B. Workman. Editor, Paul Kaminsky. Editor-in-Chief, Victor Golick. Naugus' campaign manager. Mike Carithro, Sega representatives Anthony Gucha, and Cindy Chow. And this is his more recent one that he's done. Hold on for a second. All right. Okay. Sorry about that. Anyway, like I was saying, getting on to his review now of 232, his commentary. And I quote Dan Drazen, again, this is like his commentary, this is like a review. It's like if somebody, and if you want to know what I mean by commentary, I'm talking about, it's like when somebody does a commentary for a movie. Or like I do at times, or anybody else does at times, like what Find the Computer Room did on YouTube, and what a few others do. You know, we do commentaries for episodes, either it's split or whole. If I do it, you know, hey, I do it, you know, split, because I don't take no damn chances. But anyway, getting into his commentary, and I quote Dan Drazen on 232, Sonic, Amy, and Antoine arrive at a Naugus Monarchy rally with Eliza's in attendance. Naugus then requests that Eliza's make things easy for everyone and hand over his crown. After assessing the situation, Sonic asks his fellow Mobians, "Have you lost your minds?" When Jeff then tries getting the crowd on his side, Sonic drops the bomb about Sally's condition. Eliza, of course, shows more concern than Jeff over what happened. Jeff appears more concerned with keeping up appearances and sticking to whatever agenda he's keeping to himself. As for Naugus, he finally puts two and two together and connects Eggman with the events of Sonic 225. Something the posse in his head has already figured out. So in other words, you know, those beams that are inside Naugus' head, they pretty much already realized, you know what? Everything here, this is all Eggman's doing. This is so, he's messing with forces he doesn't know. Okay, continuing on. Recovering quickly and taking the advice of his inner lobster, Naugus turns on the kind of charm usually associated with a can of 10W30. Jeff then snatches the crown and clamps it on Naugus' misshapen head, while Pippin the Wizard in the traditional of Grima, described as a psychopath or psychopath flatterer. In other words, a psychopath flatterer. Or, oh wait a minute, I'm skipping ahead here, I'm sorry. Continuing on, that's my fault, I was skipping ahead, that was my fault, I was reading ahead of myself. Jeffrey then snatches the crown and clamps it on Narcissus' misshapen head while pimping the wizard out in the tradition of Grima Wormtongue from Lord of the Rings. In Wikipedia, Wormtongue is described as a psychopath, flatterer, liar, and manipulator, and Jeff appears to be touching all the bases. Amy then mentions that Bunny became collateral damage in the previous issue, at which point Naga suggests adjourning this meeting to the hospital. After Naga invades Bunny's room, Sonic makes a suggestion of opening up the outside wall so the folks in the street outside can see what's going on. Nicole complies, and one flash later, Bunny's got her old de-roboticized body back. Nicole? Well, I guess, yeah, she does open the walls and everything, so whatever. I don't know if he meant to say Nagas there or something. But since Nicole, controls the city, she probably, it does make sense, so it kind of caught me off. Nicole complies, and one flash later, or fwash later, and he capitalizes fwash here. Trying to point to it. Bunny's got her old de-roboticized body back. Nagas has a "did I just do that" moment, which passes quickly while Jeff tells him to dummy up, and Sonic tells and Amy to bring the console up to speed while he makes tracks. Sonic heads for the old Freedom Fighters headquarters, where he tries to engage Nicole in conversation, but she's in no mood to do anything except quick IMing, in other words, instant messaging. Promising to go F2F later, face to face I guess, Sonic books himself on the next warp ring portal to Angel Island. After bringing Knuckles up to speed, the Echidna reacts by screaming his dreads off at Sonic, no less argumentatively. He then tells Sonic in excruciating detail, God, I can't pronounce some of these big words, in excruciating detail why trying to buzz Sally out of the Death Egg using a warp ring isn't a good idea. Julie Sue pitches in by recounting the problems they had using a warp ring to rescue the Brotherhood. By this point, Sonic turns tail and heads back through the warp ring where Tails is waiting with the news that Jeff has formally been arrested and charged with treason. Rather than getting to see Jeffrey do the prep walk, we cut back to the Death Egg where Snipply is trying to deliver a damage report. Eggman, however, is too busy playing with his life-size Mecha Sally action figure to really focus. He then tells Snipply he's got everything covered, so Hakuna Matata. As Snipply slips closer to the edge, Eggman prepares to make some modifications to Mecha Sally that will probably void the warranty. See what I mean by him not pulling any punches when it comes to his reviews, folks? Here's an example. Alright, now we get into his head score here, which again previously takes up almost a couple of pages. Alright, let me get a sip of coffee here for a second, folks. Ironically, I got up this morning, got everything, fed my dog and everything and all that, and I ended up crashing on the couch here for another few hours. I'm sure it's happened to you a couple of times. Anyway, getting back to what I was saying. We're getting into his score tally now, into how he scores each category. Now this is how he does his head score, and we'll get into that. Let me see what he scores ahead. The head score he gives, well, I guess he is an 8. Yeah, pretty good, a little higher than last issue. Okay, head score. This is how he scores. This is how he gives it a score of 8 on the head count, on the head portion, whatever you want to call it. The most obvious feature of this story is Nagus and how different he is from the Nagus currently on display in the Babylon Rising arc. Okay, now you got to remember, when he did this review, the Babylon Rising arc was just beginning, or I think it was in its 2nd issue or something like that. So, basically I think 36 was when this was happening. Is how different he is from the Nagus currently on display in the Babylon Rising arc, now playing over at Sonic Universe. Here, he's articulate and adroit enough to know how to work with the shifts in public opinion, and even to cover his own confusion concerning whatever he had expected with. Okay, excuse me for a second. Let me reread this. Here, he's articulate and adroit enough to know how to work with the shifts in public opinion, and even to cover his own confusion concerning whatever he had expected would happen to Bunny. Over in the other comic, he basically lets his cuckoo-ness beat the crap out of him, and that's all. Talk about multiple personalities. The most obvious reason for the difference is that there are 2 different writers involved, Ian Flynn for this book and Tracy Yardley for the Babylon Rising arc. Even so, some basic editorial oversight is all it would have needed to blend the 2 versions of Nagus together into something like a coherent and consistent character. Something else has to explain the difference. Myself, I believe it's due to different storytelling agendas. Over in Babylon, Tracy's main objective appears to be depicting the Brain Bird Battlelord as the baddest of the bad birds. This has led not only to an out-of-left-field upgrade of his powers, but to the unspoken rule that nobody, and nobody is capitalized here, if I can find it, right there. That nobody is more powerful than he, Nagus included. For Ian, however, Nagus is the one with all the skills, whether intentional or not. I don't know, and he capitalizes what here, what certain extent Ian lets us know that it doesn't matter. So okay, I don't know, and again what's capitalized, what certain extent Ian lets us know, that it doesn't matter so long as her getting her bunny. Oh, okay. Again, I'm skipping ahead. I'm sorry about that. It's like, I'm skipping ahead. I apologize. I'm reading ahead of myself. I apologize. Okay. Okay, rereading, and I apologize for this. I don't know, and again, what, and I know I'm repeating myself, I apologize for that, what Nagus was expecting to do to Bunny in the hospital room, and to a certain extent, Ian lets us know that it doesn't matter so long as her getting her bunny bod back is the end result. Well, I'll say more about Bunny later on, since she's the focus of the backstory. And again, you can read the backstory in the link. I'm beginning to think that Eggman and Sonic screwing with reality didn't stop with Sonic 230. Ian has been sprinkling clues in recent stories that not everything is back to normal. The tuft of real grass in the last issue, the disappearance of Eggman's Chaos Emerald, and now Bunny's return to a state of nature. Sonic may have been satisfied that preventing Sally getting shot up was enough of a restore point. But I find myself wondering whether he may have opened a Pandora's box. In other words, when he uses the comparison of Pandora's box, he's saying, I wonder if maybe Sonic opened up a can of worms that he shouldn't have opened up. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not going to be surprised, and I'll talk about this probably in a minute. But getting back to what I'm saying. What was it? Okay, continuing on, and I quote, "The story is starting to remind me of the episode Parallels of Star Trek The Next Generation, where Wolf experiences shifting realities due to a case of quantum flux. I'll spare you the explanation. I really don't know where Ian is going with all this, but that strikes me as a possibility anyway. Head score 8, which is pretty good, I guess. Now for the I score, which is the art. There's a lot to like when it comes to the artwork. My favorite moment is the Eliza's facepalm at the bottom of page 6. I score 10. Now for the heart score. This is how he looks at the heart of the story. The story has two potential strong heart moments and managed to give short shrive to one of them. The first was Bunny's restore scene, which was squeezed into all of 2 panels. Yes, she's going to be featured in the backstory, but that story takes place after the transformation is a done deal. The haste with which the story hurried on just drained the heart out of what should have been a more engaging moment in the story. The other heart moment, however, works much better, the painful one-sided conversation between Sonic and Nicole. The fact that she doesn't appear in any form and communicates only in short sentences before shutting up altogether puts the emotional weight for the sequence on Sonic. Thanks to Ian and Ben, he is more than up to the challenge. He tries to engage her, but she is seriously not in the mood. I don't blame her. The whole scene is underplayed at just the right level. It's a very effective counterpoint to the hasty treatment of Bunny's transformation. Heart score 7. And again, the backstory you can read about when I provide the link down below. But that's basically his most recent review that he did. And to be honest with you folks, again, he holds no punches here. You know, he's basically pointed out something that I don't think any of us that, you know, even if we go on Ian Flynn's Humble King forums, I should say, have even considered asking him. You know, basically, he points out, in his own honest opinion, that he believes Sonic and Eggman's messing with reality and the whole timeline kind of deal has not really ended. In other words, like I mentioned in 231, when I reading off his 231 review, you look at the fact that, okay, you look below and you think, well, wait a minute. This was all artificial nanite grass, or like I used for an example, you go on an artificial turf at a football field, and all of a sudden one thing catches your eye right in the middle, and it's real grass, and you think, well, wait a minute, this is supposed to be all artificial. So that would technically, you know, catch your eye, wouldn't it? It would mine. I mean, think about it. I mean, you're walking, thinking, nothing's bad, and you're taking a second look, like, wait a minute. And you get this second look, and you're like, well, wait a minute. Where'd that come from? This wasn't here before. This wasn't like this before. It's like, okay, I'll give you another example. Here we go. We'll use this for an example. Now this is the DVD version of Top Gun, part of the I Love the 80s collection. Now think of it this way, folks. Think of it this way. All of a sudden, I'm going to go watch this movie. I'm going to put this movie in, right? I want to watch this movie. And I'm going to put it in my DVD player. And all of a sudden, as I'm reaching for it, I look down below, and the movie below it is Officer and a Gentleman. So I look down below, and all of a sudden, the Officer and Gentleman one is basically, the Officer and Gentleman one is a Blu-ray. And I have mostly DVDs. And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, I don't have Blu-ray. You know, wait a minute, did I see that right kind of deal? That's exactly what he mentions again in his review here. That nothing is as it seems. Nothing is as it seems. And that is what gets people talking. People are talking about that because, again, nothing is as it seems. Well, people are talking like that. And again, this is something, like I said, that no, I don't think, because for some odd reason, I can go to Ian's Bumble King forum and look up the Bumble King, the message board, the side of Mobius topic, and on there, people are talking about it. And not once have I noticed from there, at the Sega forums, or even before I was bombarded from Sonic Stadium, have I ever seen anybody mention a possibility of time reality not totally being fixed, like it's still changing. Which tells me, honestly, in my honest opinion, that time travel, again, is going to happen. That we're going to have something similar, in a way, to the Generations plot. I know you're thinking, well, Brian, there's no way they'd loosely adapt that in some way. Believe me, but that is going to happen. Because think about it. A lot of things changed in the Generation plot. I mean, all the life was drained, and the only way to restore them and everything was to, basically, change reality back. You know what I'm saying? So, to me, I think that might be what we're going towards. Something similar to that, not exactly that. And when I read what Dan says there, when he says he believes that Sonic and Eggman's messing of reality and shifting reality didn't really help much, that kind of tells me there's more to it than meets the eye. Now, again, he does compliment that Sonic may have been satisfied because his main goal was to restore Sally back to flesh and blood, was to restore Sally to life. But probably in the process, he wasn't thinking that he was going to probably open something like Pandora's box. Something that doesn't need to be open. Like, okay, all right. Like, let's use Raiders of the Lost Ark, for example. We all know the ending there. We all know the thing. We all know the legend from that movie. You cannot open the Ark or else you're going to die. You cannot look inside the Ark if you open it or else you're going to die, right? Well, that's exactly what this is. This is basically like that. It's like Sonic opening the Ark of the Covenant and basically messing up everything. Basically messing everyone and everything up. Because even Dan Drazen mentions here that Ian has sprinkled in clues that Eggman and Sonic's messing with, or screwing with reality didn't stop in 230. I mean, when you think about it, the real grass, Sonic's messing with, or screwing with reality didn't stop in 230. I mean, when you think about it, the real grass, the and now Bunny's returned to normal. Those lines happen. Because let's go back in reality. Let's go back in time. And a lot of people brought this up when Bunny got restored. Even though it's a good thing to see her restored, the fact is, in the Supersonic special called Girls Rule, the first story out of that special, or the second, not the first story, but I think second to last story or something like that, Bunny had her original roboticized limbs replaced with organic cybernetic ones. In other words, no chance of being de-roboticized or restored. And yet, here it happens. So this is basically what Dan is trying to say, like maybe with them screwing with reality as much as they did, they basically, in a sense, caused things to happen that shouldn't have happened. That's basically what he's looking at. So, but that's Dan Drazen's review. And what's the overall score he gives 232, you may ask? Well, he gives the head score an 8. He gives a 10 to the eye score and a 7 to the heart. So basically 25, which is, I guess, okay. A little higher than the last issue. But still, I like how he mentions that Ian does sprinkle clues out there, despite what Ian will tell us or not. So, comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I will talk to y'all later. I'm going to let this battery charge and turn off this TV and VCR.